we are thankful for you sparing your precious time. And today we have been joined different academics from all over Pakistan, from Quetta, from Lahore, from Islamabad, Southern Punjab, as well as other parts of the country now. We will request you so directly to share your valuable views on what are the best practices which the higher education institutions can adopt, especially during COVID-19 and after COVID-19. Over to you, sir.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Murtaza, for this opportunity to talk to colleagues about higher education, and I feel specifically the issues that it is facing currently and the opportunities that are arising because of COVID. So I'll be speaking about four matters. The first three are interlinked, and they are basically sort of the heart of the matter as far as the operation of both the higher education system as well as the operation of a university are concerned. And this, in the second part, I'll talk about distance education or the role of technology, which is, you know, what is making this kind of interaction possible. So in the first case, the issues that I want to raise and discuss and talk about are autonomy and accountability. This is from an institutional perspective. I want to talk about the structure of governance and management, and then also the structure of a quality assurance system. The quality assurance system both within an institution and then as far as a number of institutions are concerned. So and the three are all linked to each other, so it's not really possible to separate them. Let me start with the structure of a quality assurance system, because it lays out the framework of an institution of higher learning as well as a higher education system of learning within a country. And I will here be borrowing very heavily from the Bologna Protocol. Most of you must have heard about it. But the fact of the matter is that it is now basically the de facto quality standard of the world. Why? Because 48 countries are formal signatories to it. This is all of Europe, this is Australia, this is UK, this is Central Asia, it includes Kazakhstan, it includes Russia. So that is a very large area of the world. And then if you look at the other, what is called sort of the competing system, which is the North American system with the United States, Canada, there, the two systems are actually not going to be far away from each other, because the basic principles on which they are based, they are the same. Now, what are these very, very simple principles? One of the first things, first and foremost, is that a higher education system is a three-level system. You have bachelor, you have master's, and you have PhD. You had, prior to that, all kinds of systems. So in Russia, you had a different system. In countries, you went from bachelor's to PhD degrees, you skipped the master's degrees. Well, once and for all, it was decided, or in some countries, you had master's as the first degree, and then you went to a PhD degree. Like in Germany, you had the 5-year diploma engineer. People all over the world collectively decided it is going to be a three-level system. So there is no concept anywhere in the world, North America, Europe, Central Asia, Australia, wherever you want to talk about, there's no concept of having a two-level system that is a bachelor and a PhD, or a master's and a PhD, where the first degree is a master's degree. So that is first principle. Second, as far as the quality assurance principles are concerned, the quality assurance body, the body that certifies that your quality assurance system is good or not, has to be an independent body. It can't be working under a government, or it cannot, it has to itself be an autonomous entity. And it is not taking its orders. So there is going to be no controlling authority in that regard of the quality assurance body itself. That quality assurance body must itself adhere to very stringent principles of quality assurance. You just cannot take any entity and say, okay, this is going to be the quality assurance body, and we put a stamp on it, no matter who gives it a stamp. Its own conduct, its own people, the level that they have, the knowledge that they have, and its own systems and processes must adhere to international best practices. All such bodies who say that they can do this kind of thing, they are then vetted. And in the Bologna Protocol, there is actually a register of such bodies. So there is Organization 1, Organization 2, Organization 3, etc. They are listed that these are the entities who are allowed to do quality assurance of another entity. So the independence of that QA body is a very critical factor. And the fact that it itself operates in a very specific manner. Then, what does the principle of quality assurance mean? Does it mean that I will go into the University of Gujarat or University of Bahawalpur and I will tell them what to do? Because then you are dealing at that point with the whole concept of the autonomy of the university and its accountability. So you cannot have a quality assurance body that will go into any university in Multan or Bahawalpur or Islamabad or wherever you have and tell them that you have to do it this way. No. What it does is that you have the basic principle of autonomy of a university. The basic principle of autonomy of a university means that it is going to be in charge of the quality. Okay, it is going to decide. It is going to make the decision. It is going to award the degrees. But, and there is a big but, it will do so in conformance with very well accepted standards. So it is a university, yes, it will make its own decisions, but it will operate in a manner, okay, and the operational principles, the process that it follows are according to international best practices. And that, okay, is something that then comes into conflict in Pakistan, where they say, okay, the Minister of Education has decided this, or the Secretary of Education has ordered this. An autonomous institution doesn't take orders like that. An autonomous institution says, we have our principles, we are going to follow these.
Hello. I think there's a problem of voice. I can't hear.
Well, I am talking and I seem to be, everybody else seems to be hearing, so perhaps it's a problem that exists at your end, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Voice is clear.
Okay. Would request the administrator of the talk to monitor the sound issue and then to keep everybody else mute so we can then continue in this discussion. So now we have the principle of autonomy of the institution But the autonomy does not mean that it is not accountable. Autonomy in quality assurance means that you follow documented processes and you fill out your own self-evaluation and you say, I am following this, I hold syndicate meetings in this manner, academic council in this manner, we fix the curriculum in this manner. It decides, or it writes it down. The external quality assurance body comes and says, are you doing what you say you are doing? It doesn't say, are you doing what I am telling you to do? It's saying, are you doing what you are saying? First thing. Second, it checks, is what you are saying in conformance with the standards? So you're not allowed to just, make up things and then behave in any manner that you want to. What you say has to tie up to international and in national standards, and then you need to do what you say you're going to do. That's as simple as it gets. Now, this particular issue means that when, let's say that you are offering a Bachelor of Economics program, well, the Bachelor of Economics, you say, is going to be offered in this manner. The people who are going to teach are going to have this kind of a qualification. They are going to be selected in this manner. They're going to be promoted in this manner. All your rules and regulations. The first question is, are you following your rules and regulations? That's the basic, that's the heart of the matter. And the second is, are your rules and regulations in conformance with the standards? And that is the essential difference between a modern quality assurance system and the old-fashioned way, which says, I am going to give you an NOC to start or do something or not. The NOC culture and modern quality assurance practices do not intersect. You can either have NOC, because when you are giving somebody an NOC, you are taking their authority from them and you are accepting all the accountability at that point in time. And in a country of 220 million with whatever 200 universities, each university, some of them large, having 60, 70, 80 departments, millions of students studying, what is the point? And how is the capacity of one little entity sitting in Islamabad or any provincial capital to undertake that thing? This whole idea of an NFC is anathema, and it absolutely contradicts every single tenet of a modern quality assurance system. And this is not alien to Pakistan, because you already have the Pakistan Engineering Council. It is signatory to the Washington Accord. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that Washington comes and checks whether Punjab University chemical engineering program is correct or not. It says that the standards adopted in Pakistan are in conformance with international standards. Then the standards adopted by University A are in conformance with Pakistan standard. Then the university operates according to its standards and processes, and it can be verified. Nobody comes and tells you to do something, and that is the critical matter. It is the heart of the matter. It gives the responsibility of running the university to the institution. And it says, please put in systems and processes so that when you are going to conduct an academic program, a research program, a PhD program, you are going to do it according to well-documented systems and processes. Now, in terms of, and then you have, but it's not left without a check. The check is done either at the program level, so you will check a program of biochemistry of a university, or it is done, there is no or, it is done at the institutional level. So you will go to the Sakhar IBA or wherever, and you will see whether the institution itself is following quality assurance principles or not. Does the vice chancellor make their own decisions? Do they have a syndicate? Are the papers prepared in a proper manner? Are everything that is to be decided at the syndicate level decided at the syndicate level? Is the curriculum, do they have a system of external review of their departments? And when somebody does an external review, do they have a system of ensuring that the external recommendations are actually followed or not? So that is what an institutional accreditation system is. And this entire system of program accreditation and institutional accreditation was developed in Pakistan around 2005 to 2008, and this entire system was then put into operation. The purpose of the establishment of a quality enhancement cell in the university was that the university will take ownership of the concept of quality, and it will then follow through, and it will then verify that actually these systems are being implemented, and then it will advise the university bodies, yes, we are following through and we are meeting international quality standards in that case or not. So it is often that one sees something that is going wrong. Let's say there is University X and its mathematics program is producing substandard graduates, industry is complaining. So you say, oh, I know what I will do. I will go ahead and take charge. And that is like imposing governor rule over there. So a central body says, I will now run their mathematics department. And if you want to develop higher education in the country, there is no way that you will be able to do something like that, because you cannot be running a country's education system in that way. Pakistan has already one of the lowest enrollments in higher education in the world. We have very, very few people enrolled in higher education, in university education. The numbers, the 10%, 12% that we get, we add up everything to do with colleges, everything to do with Allama Iqbal Open University, virtual university, we add it all up. And even then we arrive at one of the lowest numbers. If we just look at university enrollment, it is impossible. And then, as I said, modern quality assurance principles do not assume that all of the wisdom resides in a provincial or a federal capital. It provides responsibility to the university. And then it holds them, it says, you have your own governance and management structure. Make sure that you follow it. All of you know that well-run universities have a regular schedule of syndicate meetings, have a regular schedule of academic council meetings, have a regular schedule of departmental meetings. There is consultation, bottom-up development, and whatever issues there are, they are addressed within the university. If you don't have that, you don't have a well-run institution. To fix that problem, you support the university to become well-run. You don't run it for yourself. That is the basic difference. Now, the second part that I wanted to, of course, there is much more to discuss within these issues of accountability, but I will leave that to the question and answer session. The second part I wanted to just touch about is that what COVID has done is that it has accelerated the digitization phase of the institutions. It is commonly being assumed that it is going to be a substitute. There is, and the fact of the matter is that this whole purpose of online education, digitization, having lectures, having, interlinking different kinds of video material available worldwide and all that, these are all supplementary entities, they add. You can, of course, and there are many institutions of the world that have fantastic online education programs, but those are very difficult to do at a high quality level. And no matter what, just like right now, okay, this interaction, it's very good. You will have an opportunity to talk and people can listen and there's some opportunity to talk. but it is not a substitute to sitting in an auditorium and having a discussion face to face, and then having a cup of tea later on, and you know, having those discussions. You can't do that kind of substitution, but you can provide a very high quality of education in that is applicable, and some people are able to use that. More mature students are able to benefit from it at a higher degree level. So the opportunity of COVID is that technology can be used as a what I call a force multiplier. It will allow the university to significantly enhance the quality of its offering. It will allow one university to benefit from another university's work, material, and then another university can be from any part of the world. Okay. And we can go to every corner of the country, provided there is good internet, and make those offerings. But to think that it is just going to be able to substitute that, there is much more to learning than what is happening in the classroom. The interactions between students, the interactions between faculty, the interaction between student and faculty, the living experience of a hostel, etc., the living experience of participating in clubs, debates, sports competitions, those are not replicable via technology. So what we should do is to use this technology to help us in every which way. And the Pakistan Education and Research Network, PERN, that was set up is the platform that was set up for this purposes. Also, since I'm speaking to universities, you have an obligation to work with the colleges, because these are higher education providers. Their distance education can significantly act to improve the quality that is available. So I see this as an opportunity for us to fast track the digitization. I think I will stop here and open it to if there are any discussions or questions that we want to work with. You have a you have a function of a I think it used to be a thumbs function somewhere.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. You can what we can do is that we can ask those people who want to ask questions from you. They can raise your hand. They raise their hands using the they can raise their hands, or if they want to share comment, they can also go ahead and raising hand.
Raising hand would be the best way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That will help us to identify who would like to go ahead with the comments or questions or conversation that we can do. I guess Dr. Mohammad Nizamuddin Sahab has also joined. There are a lot of wonderful faculty joining us from different parts of Pakistan as well. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity that we can also have a conversation, especially related to the fact that Dr. Naqvi Sahab, our National School University professors are here, and then we can also build on the conversation, especially when students are here as well. There are a lot of concerns related to how the online education in Pakistan would be working, and how well we can build on this challenge into an opportunity, by the way. And then I hope that there will be a lot of wonderful comments and questions. Murza, you need to unmute yourself.
First of all, Dr. Nizam Sahab, Dr. Nizamuddin Sahab.
Dr. Nizamuddin. Dr. Saab, please
thank
go
you,
ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Naqvi Sahab, for the clarification about the Bologna Declaration and higher education stages. What is going on currently in Pakistan, HEC has decided to have an associate degree title for a 2-year, and a BS originally we were following it. But where does the Bologna 3-year degree program fits into Pakistani situation? How can we be like India try to go with the Bologna qualification? How can Pakistan do it? Is it possible here? Do you think the HEC will agree for a 3-year degree program as of the
right?
Some universities do conduct 3-year degree program, but the HEC doesn't agree with that.
Right. In Pakistan, you have to see that the entire higher education system has to exist within a qualification framework of the country.
Right.
So higher education sits on top of school education. In Pakistan, our school education is of 12-year duration, and the kind of outcomes and output that we have makes us equivalent to an American high school degree or a 12-year degree. So in that case, the bachelor degree would normally be of a 4-year duration. And the 3-year duration that exists in Europe in certain countries, that sits on top of 13 years of education degree. So either way, you end up with 16 years. Now, actually, the number of years is not really the deciding factor. It is the level that you have achieved. And in Pakistan, we had decided, and it was uniformly accepted and rolled out across the country, that there would be a 4-year bachelor degree. You can have an intermediate step in there, and that is a 2-year associate degree. The 2-year is simply signifying that this is not at the level of a bachelor degree, but it is at a level lower.
The American model, yeah.
It can be, you can, in America, all of Australia, New Zealand, I mean, many, Canada, many different countries of the world have that.
So,
Oops. I guess Dr. Mukhtar is mute.
Yeah. Perhaps Dr. Mukhtar can.
Yes. Dr. Mukhtar, please go ahead. Dr. Mukhtar sir, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Acha. Naqvi sahab, thank you very much. This is a beautiful overview that what we have to go in this COVID-19 era. I would like to get your input regarding a very serious issue that is relevant to scientific research. Unfortunately, in COVID-19, the scientists as well as the clinical trials, if we look across the border, I mean, there are a lot more problems, there are a lot more confusion. I can share with you, even if we look at the Google right now, people have written COVID-19 virus. COVID-19 is not a virus, this is a disease, but I mean, all the, public domain has been filled with that one. Then there was an issue with this chloroquine, you know. You might have heard that one, sir, without any scientific research, and now studies have proved that chloroquine is killing the people, not curing the people. And in the same line, like in Pakistan as well as across the world, people are not really well trained to deal with infectious diseases, particularly viral infection. What's your, what you suggest, what you propose, how the world should go about this issue?
Okay. First of all, I think at a country level, the supremacy of knowledge has to be acknowledged. What I mean by that is that on any issue, we are looking at it from a knowledge perspective, that who has the most knowledge, and that person has the most to contribute. Then the question is, how is that knowledge going to be able to allow to function? And then we come to the scientific principle that when we are going to make a statement, can we back it up with solid evidence? And the whole idea, for example, of the chloroquine was that a person made a statement, a person in a position of power made a statement that this is good, but there was no scientific evidence to back it up. And unfortunately, in our country also, we are always concerned about the personalities, who said it. Okay. We are not looking at what was the evidence that led them to say something like that or to make a statement. And the whole point is that from a country perspective, the scientific viewpoint is present the evidence that goes with trying to make a certain point. Now, moving on to the higher level issue of an infectious disease, the link of research to the human being or a cure for that is a pathway that goes through many stages. And unfortunately, in Pakistan, we have not adopted a national system that would allow any research in any pertaining to any entity, let alone COVID, to come towards either a cure or a formulation that would then be used on people. And in the Western world, you have phase 1 trial, phase 2 trial, phase 3 trial. These are, there's a clear methodology defined for it. I remember earlier on when there was the issue of hepatitis, and the question was, why cannot we manufacture in Pakistan and come up with a better cure for it? But the problem is that the Drug Regulatory Authority, the Ministry of Health, the provincial government, the federal government, the Ministry of Science and Technologies, the roles are not defined and the methodology is not defined. So there are plenty of people who will say no, but nobody will tell you, well, what is the process? I mean, that when you have done research, how does it go through? And so because of that, unfortunately, all of Pakistan's research cannot be applied within the country, and you will have to work with international collaborators and go through phased trials in that country, because your country doesn't have a system in which you can go through that.
We have Mr. Abdul Wahid Saab. You can go ahead and ask the question. Abdul Wahid Saab, can you also introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Abdul Wahid, and I'm professor at Arid Agriculture University, Rawalpindi, and these days I am heading the University Institute of Management Sciences, and I'm really grateful for Dr. Sohail Naqvi for giving us such a wonderful talk, and particularly Dr. Mukhtar Saab and Murtaza Noor, who managed this talk and enlightened us. And my question actually from Sohail Naqvi Saab is that he mentioned that in his talk that this pandemic has enhanced the pace of digitalization in education. And my question would be that in Pakistan, we have jumped, I believe, blindly into digital education. My question is, are our faculty really prepared for this change, or we have just blindly jumped? I believe we have blindly jumped, and don't we need any training for the faculty, or shouldn't HEC be coming up with some training programs for the faculty, truly training program, because going from a classroom teaching to online teaching is entirely a different world. What are your comments, sir? Thank you.
All right. Now I will go to my earlier remark about the autonomy of a university. When you are autonomous, it puts in certain responsibilities on you also. It means that you have to figure out how to act. And you're very right. There is definitely training that is required to move from a classroom environment into an online environment. But it is first the department's responsibility to provide that, and then the university's responsibility to provide that. And then collectively, if it is such a complex matter, then the nation can get together and come up with a solution. In this case, fortunately, the internet is full of support material to assist you in making that transition. And each of Pakistani universities has enough learned people and resources that it can best utilize all of these free resources that are available and carry out training programs, redesign their curriculum for online delivery, have a method where you are testing to see what is working, what is not working, and get better along the way. And you can have experts that you can engage from all over the world that can assist you with that transition. But it has to start with you taking ownership, that you are the one who's going to make this thing happen. Now, we don't have a choice here, because time is not an entity that can be stored. So this time, this hour that goes, it goes. It's no coming back. So we want to make use of this time to the best of our ability to ensure that the educational journey is not interrupted. And for that purpose, the responsibility lies on us to figure out how best to do it. And the material is there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naqvi. I hope that if there are more questions, myself, Dr. Naqvi, I'm Farhat Asif. I'm founder, president of Institute of Peace and Diplomatic Studies. My question from you would be that, this COVID-19 has not only posed a great challenge, it's for all the sectors, including the business, but education has become something very unique in Pakistan. We have been facing a lot of challenges before. There are structural challenges. There are a lot of issues related to the faculty. So in these times, when everybody is saying that adaptability in these special times is important, how can the universities in Pakistan should adopt the new changes that are happening? Because there are a lot of resistance in the change that is happening in Pakistan. So how would you advise or share your insights, especially when you're looking at different universities across the world? You've been serving in different universities across the world. How the changes can be adopted, especially the new one that is happening in Pakistan?
Well, the only constant in the world is change. So change is something that we are experiencing at all time. At this time, yes, this is something truly gigantic and unique that we have. We were locked down, at least in other parts of the world, for long periods of time, and we have this thing hovering on top of our head. So the question is, how best do you respond to crisis, and how do you deal when situations are unknown? And the best way always is that you meet amongst yourself, and communication plays a very important and a critical role. So in your institute, there surely is a group of people who then manage your institute. So one benefits from the wisdom of others. You list down what are the challenges that you are facing. You have a discussion amongst yourself. At the very least, everybody will know what everyone is thinking. But then in this particular case, because this is a singular challenge being faced by the entire world. So an island in the South Pacific, a mountain resort in Switzerland, all of them are facing the same challenge. And there are now best practices that have evolved in dealing with it, whether it is dealing with an education matter or any other aspect of it. Apply the scientific principle, have a methodology of consultation, making decisions, and having as wide an ability to reach out and read and get information from the world. And that is the way forward. There is no one particular solution that is going to be applicable. It will depend upon the nature of the issue that you're dealing with.
Iram Moniz, please go ahead. Please also introduce yourself, where you're joining us from, and then go ahead with your questions. Iram?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Iram Moniz from National University of Medical Sciences.
Could you come closer to the mic?
And also share where exactly you are. Iram?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you say that again about your introduction?
I'm Dr. Iram Moniz from National University of Medical Sciences. I'm honored to be directly talking to Dr. Sohail Naqvi right now. My question, sir, is we understand that this is a situation and we are ready to adapt to change, but the situation is that we are professional people, medical universities, MBBS and BDS and nursing, where patient contact is part of learning, and it's a skill-based job that we do. In this scenario, how are we going to cope with this situation, and maybe what is going on in the world regarding the professional education and the degree? Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, this is clearly a very difficult matter, but if you look at the example of China, there the number of infections that occurred in the medical personnel themselves was minimal, I believe, at least at the latter stages. I am not a medical professional, so I'm only talking to you about things that I have read, but from my understanding, they developed a protocol that allowed them to interact with the patients, but it was a very difficult and a very strict protocol. They had, double gloves, masks, absolute sort of isolation of the person from the environment, and it was not possible to be in those clothes and those environments for a long period of time. They could not even use the restroom during the time that they were wearing that material. But in those 3-4 hours that they had, they were able to look after their patients and also look after themselves and not get sick. Now, what they did was very difficult. Perhaps it required a lot of resources and a lot of type of PPEs that may not be available, but certainly it is doable. Now, within the environment that you have, I don't think that this is a question about sacrificing yourself for the sake of the patient. It doesn't make any sense, because if you are not going to be well tomorrow, the hospital will have to be closed down. And in many parts of the world, that is happening. Hospitals are required, but they're closed down because the serving personnel have become sick themselves. And I think that it is important that this be given the level of support that is needed, because without the medical personnel being assured, at least to a 99% reliability that they are not going to get infected, we need to change the protocols. So we should not proceed. And so the experience of the world, the experience of China in this, and your own ingenuity in that, and I think most important, that you actually give the issue importance, that the human being, this doctor, nurse that you're dealing with is a critical entity. So in Pakistan, we have a tendency to put the people at the lowest level. We think it's like macho to sort of, ignore these kind of things, but it doesn't work that way. This virus that we are dealing with is the most relentless enemy that human being has ever encountered. And you give it one opportunity, it will get you. So you have to not give it the opportunity.
Thank you, Rim, for this question. With your permission, Dr. Saab, I also would like to add that with the doctors who are experienced, working at the very front line are, real heroes. But, when they are experiencing or practicing these kind of, and dealing with these kind of viruses, they become our asset as well. Because, Dr. Saab, you must have seen in China, there are a lot of, they've been dealing with SARS, they've been dealing with a lot of different viruses. And that experience has helped them as a country to deal with this particular virus in a very better manner as compared to what you face it. So you as doctors become our asset as well, just in case, God forbid, we face any other crisis like that. So Ruxana Kosa Saiba is asking for a question. Ruxana, can you unmute yourself and of course introduce yourself, where you are joining us from?
Thank you very much. Indeed, I am Dr. Ruxana Kausar, Vice Chancellor, Government College, Women University. Dr. It is always treat to listen to you. And I'm sorry I missed the part when you were given a little talk. So hopefully we'll get a copy from them if they have recorded. I just want to ask a couple of things. One is a rather add. Given the situation we are facing now, we need to revamp our curriculum too, because the courses we have been offering in our degree programs are compulsory courses and general education courses, of course, subject related courses. But maybe we have to rethink and revamp those courses which we are offering as compulsory. For instance, we may have to prepare our graduates for technology use. It's not only computer use, but the upcoming technology which helps them and the faculty to use online material and to impart it. And secondly, maybe we need to make a compulsory course which is public health, maybe introduction to public health, behavioral change. So all these should be considered, keeping in view the future of this uncertain situation which we are facing now, and we don't know what kind of picture it's going emerging from time to time, and we don't know when it's going to be controlled or not, or maybe beyond that we are facing more issues. So we may have to prepare our generation to face these realities and equip them, rather than teaching them those courses which of course are taught, but they're useful, but I'm sure we need to prioritize right now. Secondly, my thought on it is that we need to, as the question was raised about adaptability, we may need to consider making psychosocial well-being services for the students and the staff and the faculty working on campus, even in skeleton shape or coming in batches. It is very, very important to provide them support, because during this time, when they come back, they might have been scarred. For instance, one of my master students has lost her life. One of my colleagues' father is on ventilator. So it's not only thinking of education, it's also helping them, providing them little support. So maybe higher education institutions must think on these lines, though I'm happy that Higher Education Commission has started and constituted a committee which is going to hold hands with the universities to establish these services. So what do you think about these things? Number two, it's most probably more than that, that we have the people, we have the masses which are in bulk and who are not dealing with or taking the situation as it is, because Dr. Mukhtar is sitting here. There are lots of social media misuse where information has been imparted in such a way that people sitting at home, housewife is recording a video. So there should be some censoring in place. There should be some social media usage responsible behavior. Maybe we can also think of keeping in our curriculum. So I just wanted to know your views about it, because I missed the bit you have talked about. Thank you very much.
Well, I didn't talk about any of these issues over there. Talk about the matters that you have raised. First, about the curriculum. Now, one thing we have to realize is that the world that our students will live is not the world that we are living in right now. And so we have to educate them for that world. The other one, we don't even know what that world is going to be. This world that we are now living, fourth industrial revolution, robots, internet, now we have COVID, etc., etc. 20 years ago, this was not visualized and not thought of. So we have to think, what is it then? What is the meaning of education that we are giving over here? And probably the first and foremost thing that we have to think about is that of teaching them how to learn. Because that, if one has that ability, then this constantly changing world, we can also change along with that. That means all of the resources that can be used, all the net, etc., that we can think about. That means also we may want to think about changing the nature of the assessment that we are doing. Is it really important that we have to say a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and this theorem and that theorem and whatever, when the kids can just go ahead and do that? And do we now look at this new changed world and teach them how to learn in this new world? And the other thing is that behavior is not taught through courses. If that was the case, we would be the best, most honest nation on earth. We're not, because we are looking at the leaders who are lying, and you can do whatever the heck you want. If you are going to be lying yourself, it's not going to work out. If you are going to be cheating and being unethical, you cannot be teaching students to be ethical. So it's a question of the environment that we create in the university that is supportive, that is empathetic, that is allowing people to grow and expand, that supports people, that is honest, where honesty is actually a part of our culture. That is the behavior then the students will take forward. That also pertains to this idea of censorship and doing all of those things. Well, technology, and I am a technologist, is always 3 steps ahead of any check and balance that these guys. You tell me what you are going to block and what you're going to do, and I'll tell you 15 ways around it. Okay, and I'm not even the top person in this, and these little kids, they will run around circles around you. So unless we create that inner ability of a person to judge right and wrong, which is probably the heart of what education is about, and it is not going to be done through lectures. It is going to be practiced the hard way. It's going to be done through living these things. You then also spoke about mental health, and that is probably one of the sort of defining features of modern higher education. It certainly didn't exist when I was going through higher education. We didn't have a concept of counselors or anything of the sort. But the world that our children live in and the students live in, mental health and providing support is absolutely core and integral to that. And you can see, of course, and it's not just because of COVID, okay? In any time, at any point, you are, I think, you're in Sialkot, right? Yeah. So if you are going to start talking to your staff, start talking to your students, and not just the first 2 questions, you ask them, how are their parents? How is their family? And how you will find everybody has the same kind of human problems as anybody else has. They go through abuse, they have bankruptcies, they have divorces, they have unspeakable horrors happening, they have murder, they have everything happening. And they live in that, and then they come to class. So the humans are humans. And for us as a country, we have to realize our single biggest asset is our young people. What a median age of Pakistan is 23. 50% of the population is below 23. Okay, that means half of the population of Pakistan was born 23 years ago. So it was whatever, 1995 or 1997, 98. I mean, this is incredible when you think about that. They are a different group of people. They need support. Always they need support. And we have to treat the human as the most precious entity. The most precious thing that you have in your university is your staff, your faculty. So their mental health, okay, and then of course the students and the students' mental health, that is of paramount importance. And then the onus is on you to take the steps. Just put mental health into Google and you'll get every kind of support available that is possible. Look around. I'm sure in the city of Sialkot, there are plenty of psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, and you can put a group together and you can identify from there and you can reach out to your network out in the world, and they will help you build a mental health system for your university. There are standards available. There's all kinds of things, support that is available. And then whatever help HEC provides and anybody else, most welcome. But the first buck will stop with you to start doing this tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you, Rukhsana Saiba, for such a wonderful question, in fact. And then, of course, teachers are more than parents. We always relate ourselves when we cry from our parents and their spanking. We always go and see our teachers, you know. And the teachers are the ones who are always, you know, giving us the comfort. Thank you so much for your question. And of course, translating the degrees into practicality is something that we also need to, you know, induct in our teaching. So there is one question, Dr. Saab. Khalid Naqvi Saab from UMT were asking that the new normal needs grooming and training of human minds. Have you done anything measurable to move in that direction? What are your thoughts on new emerging social contract with the industry, academia, and the regulators of economy and society? So I was trying to find him on the group, but you know, I guess he has left. Khalid Naqvi Saab was
I didn't
asking.
quite understand the question. I mean, because it seems to have gone.
Okay, he was saying that the new normal needs grooming and training of human minds. Have you done anything measurable to move in that direction? What are your thoughts on new emerging social contract with industry, academia, and the regulators of economy and society?
Well, I think that I would first take this word training and see how is it applicable and when is it applicable to a higher education institution. Because a training is you are telling them something how to do it, and it's a skill that is being imparted. Now, that is certainly required if you are teaching them, for example, how to deal with a virus or with something, let's say, a very virulent entity. So then Dr. Mukhtar will guide you on what protocol, 1 to follow, 2 to follow, what to wear, positive, negative airflows, whatever the case may be. But when you're talking about education, okay, then we have to figure out what do we want to mean, what do we understand by it, and what should it mean. One meaning that I have often talked about, that I really believe in, is that education is something that you bring out what is hidden. So it exists. There is this ability that God has put in you, and the purpose of education is to unwrap and to make it available for you to benefit from and to make others benefit from it. That is not training. Okay, that is where you are helping people realize their own potential. And that is also an understanding that these young people have as much to give to you as you have to give to them. This is an environment in which learning takes place, where everybody is open to it. And so, especially in an institution of higher learning, where we are talking about research, it is perhaps this latter view of the broader view of education that I take. Now, with respect to the linkage with industry, there is a tension that always will exist between a university and an industry. Industry has a short-term focus on being able to complete a task. And it must do that because it has to make money. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the job of the university. We are talking about a university where we are looking at the human mind and preparing it 20 years from now. So I'm not sure that I'm, very, very interested in teaching them this particular new type of, software language that they can use to, improve the security of a web page. Because I have taught them all the basics. This is the tool. Tomorrow there's another tool. They can pick it up and do it. What that means is that these people are not directly useful to the university or to the industry. And there's going to be a little period that is going to be involved. Now, the tension exists between this long-term view and a short-term view. And this is something everybody has to work with as to, how best to handle that. The shorter the view, then you move towards training. The longer the view, you move towards the education spectrum over here. But industry is in a sense, a consumer of your product. That's the industrial view of higher education. Your product is a student, they consume it. But many people object to that. We can't talk about a human being as a product. Okay. So these are, I guess, discussions that you should have amongst yourself. Talk about the skills that you need to give to the students, so they have to be useful. But also the fundamentals that you build up so that they are good for the long term.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. It was wonderful conversation. I hope that we will continue having such kind of discussion, especially when we are facing a lot of challenges, and that this small virus has forced us to think out of the box, truly out of the box. Dr. Mukhtar Saab, now your final words. We are just wrapping up to this webinar. It's Dr. Mukhtar Saab. You have to unmute yourself. Ji. Dr.
Okay,
Saab.
I did it. Can you hear me?
Ji.
Yeah.
Dr. Naqvi Saab, it's always a treat to hear from you. Thank you very much. We all really enjoyed, and I'm also very thankful to our Vice Chancellor colleagues, as well as every participant in this inaugural meeting that Murtaza Noor and I have started. Like, we will be inviting people across the world. Initially, of course, it was the very kind support of Dr. Naqvi that Inter-University Consortium was established, and we keep moving with that one. And now we have expanded it a bit more. That is we have established a set up Gala Global Academic Leader Academy, where we will bring Vice Chancellor, Rector, as well as senior personnel across the world to share their expertise, because we are moving now in a very different direction. So this inaugural lecture, I hope you all have enjoyed. And of course, we will always keep hearing, keep listening, and keep requesting advice, mentorship, stewardship, whatsoever good word we use it from Dr. Naqvi Saab. Thank you, Dr. Naqvi, once again. And we wish you a very best and a safety from this current pandemic, for your good self, as well as for everyone in this meeting, as well as people across the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mukhtar. This meeting minutes and video will be available on the YouTube channel as well, on our first Facebook profile of IUCPSS as well. Whenever you like, you can also go and see that. And Murtaza will be placing all those pictures and everything there on the channel. So I'll be ending this this webinar. Thank you so much, Dr. Sohail Naqvi, for your
Let's
kind
have a
presence.
clap for Murtaza. I think he really, put a lot more effort. So I mean, thank you, Murtaza, if you are around, So hope you are around. Thank you, Dr. Rukhsana. Thank you, Dr. Bazai. Thank you, Nizam Saab. And thank you, Vice Chancellor, Karachi University. I saw all colleagues were here. I think we had to move forward in these challenges, inshallah.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Where it will be.